Fine.
Yes.
Then, great. Oh, I hate this. I don't know why Apple makes this opening of mail always in the middle of the screen. Okay, so I hope it doesn't matter bother again. Hello, April. So, right now we're gonna start. So, well, actually, I'm a teacher in university, and I'm. You see also myself. Do you see me too? Answer.
Yes.
Hi. Okay. I prefer to talk standing, so I'm gonna talk standing. Okay. Well, my name is Andres Leon Gaia. My background is I studied philosophy, but also theatrology, musicology, cinema. I work as new media artist, and I teach in two universities. In one interactive communication, interactive audiovisual communication like VR, AR. I also teach, not there, but I teach Arduino and that kind of stuff. And Isadora, no, and in another, and also teach in aesthetic arts, theory and praxis, and also in arts and design. So I work in theory and praxis, and also, or mainly, in new technologies. So what we're going to talk about is today. It's less technological; it's more theoretical. Um, the title of today is Building Realities, How We Learn to Engineer. Another thing I have to say. I asked at the beginning to Jean-Philippe if I could hold my conference in German. He said, no, it should be in English. So it seems I've done both because my pronunciation is very German. It's over all the other languages I could now. It's too strong. I will speak with German language. So maybe if you don't understand the words, you can write it down, and I will translate myself later. But anyway, we'll try to make it also readable. So I apologize for my pronunciation. Okay, building realities. How we learn to engineer worlds in our own image and likeness and became fond of it. So, no, here. Realities is the word of the day. No, we have extended reality, we have virtual reality, we have augmented reality, we have mixed reality. Actually, extended is all. But anyway, also about kind of reality. So the first question is, what is reality? We have a lot of theory about that. It's actually the postmodern age has dissolved our perception of reality. We are Baudrillard with hyperreality and so on. We're not going to talk about that. Maybe in the paper I will maybe get into some concepts, the paper for this conference, but now it's more interesting for me. This reality is created. It's quite clear. It's not the natural reality. It's a created one, an artificial one. By who? How is it created? Okay, in these conferences are a lot of people telling also how they built it, but the main point here from us in this conference is who is creating reality? Who is that? Are that the developers, the programmers? Are we creating as men of the street, women of the street, people of the street, human of the street? Are we creating reality? And what does make that with us, of us? What does it give us? How does it feel? That's the point of this conference. Okay, so XR. The point is, I think there's a shift, a change, a shift, a paradigm shift. I'm not sure, but this is an impulse. If we see an evolution of our history of information and communication and technological development, I think there's quite a jump forward. That's not just a little change. So I think XR means a major change. So we will see kind of questions about what do we have in common and a relation with it as society. If XR gives us any power, uh, what does that mean? This reality stuff, building stuff, if we have another kind of skepticism now, how we try to avoid to be fooled nowadays. So what for is medium? What does it also imply? What should we think of? And which is going to come next? Like trend forecasting, I think it comes not only of seeing what happens, but to understand what happens. So all this, we're gonna talk about these questions. It's actually there, which you can't read, but I'm gonna put it on the slides. So, media philosophy, phenomenology, and cultural studies are the will be the main tools of analysis. Okay. So, first of all, I want to start after this introduction with a story. A short story of the author, the Argentinian author, Borges, this guy there. So let's see. In the 7th century, a secret but benevolent society of scientists decided to develop a country, a land. They thought of kind of making laws to make up laws, scientific rules for a world, and one make one, and the other one make a current rule with that, and the other make another related rule, and so to make up rules, natural scientific rules, but artificial rules for artificial world, also social rules, on languages, on logics. Say in some day, in some moment, saw that one generation was not enough, and they passed this task from generation to generation, making this land complex and more complex, and it finally was a planet and a world. Ukbar, the land, got to Klön, the planet and world, or Orbis Tertius, the other third world. So, in the history, this artificial world certainly appears in our own world. It starts with objects like this one. Like this little, you see it in my camera, my own camera, like this black little cube that no person could, nearly 4 persons were necessary to lift it. And slowly, more and more things started to take over and started to appear in the world of, wait, I have to go back to myself. Here and again. Okay. And this, it started, people started to come, and they take slowly over until at the end, our world was taken over by Tlön. A scattered, the contact and habit of Tlön disintegrated our world. This dynasty changed the face of all lived worlds, the world we live in. And at the end, Borges say our languages will disappear from the world, and I'm working here at my own translation, which I won't publish. And this is the end of this history. So I think it's quite interesting metaphor of many things. For one, I think it's a useful metaphor to think about how a world, the conception of world, not reality, but world, like a coherent system of rules. Our science, or what we call science, which describes the world, is a system a coherent system to describe. It has its own logic. Clune had its own logic too. Actually, things come in existence if somebody thought of it and disappeared if nobody thought of them. But it's current. It has, if you read the books or the histories or as a story, there are a lot of it's current. It has its own languages, its own logic, as I say. And this is what I think we are also doing, making with XR. We're making laws. We're making independent, kind of an ecosystem and the kind of stuff which appears are our own strange objects. Like there with the object of Clune. Hello? And it's not working. Wait a minute, we're gonna start again. Okay, I'm gonna restart it. You see what I'm using? Well, it's not really working now. Okay, technical problems. As usual, it's when we depend on technology. Well, it's not really working now. But actually, what we should see now is there it's appearing, there. That is what I wanted to show you. This is levitating, this object. And what you see there can be made by who? This can be made per a teenager in 10 minutes. This kind of objects, I go back to myself, here we see it again, can be created not only by developers. There are tutorials to do this in 10 minutes. So we have the Orbis Tertius objects. I think we have also Orbis XR objects. And the fascinating thing for me is that, as said, this can be learned really, really fast. You get into the pages, they say use this and that, and then suddenly you have an object levitating in your own phone. So what I'm going to talk about is not high tech. I'm not going to talk about headsets, head-mounted displays. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the last developments of technology. I think the revolution is made by pioneers, but it happens when it comes to the people of the street. When it gets everywhere, then the revolution is a real revolution. I mean, then it's lived. So what we have everywhere are phones, and the software is so easy. It gets not only free. It's not only free. It's so easy that even people in the school can learn it. So that's there where I think are the big changes, and that there is where I'm looking at XR, at extended reality. So let's continue with that. Any question? So now, if you have a question, could you write it in question and answer now? I would like to know if I'm being clear or confused or not. Okay. If you have some question, please write it, and I maybe could react. But I maybe can see it as a chat. Okay. So what to say is we have, we are actually living in the information age. As you see this is on the screen. Yeah. And then we usually say the information age has started with the digital age. But there are it's more complex. There are also another meanings of the word. But let's say the information age is when information is like the stellars, the main thing, the main drive of our culture. To have information, to manage information, to build information. So the mass media, the thing started with, actually the thing started not with mass media, it started with Gutenberg. Okay, we have the literacy invaded the world. Before that, there were only monks, copyists, who were copying books for a very little elite of people who know how to read. Gutenberg changed that. And not only reading you have something to read, so you learn to read, but also to write was important. And we have there's a big change which started the Enlightenment era and humanism, all that. And it developed and evolution. And we get to the mass media where we all have access, and the internet in its first age was mainly to give us access to information. Okay, it doesn't look like that. This is the start of the cell phones, the start of mass media, but the digital ways, we know it, web pages, and also in the cell phone, we have information everywhere at every time. That is a big change of our age. So, which mass media, I will refer to that. So, this massive information access. I mean, information access, where internet dissolved. We could say internet dissolved physical temporal coordinates of information because you have it everywhere, anytime. Well, then and what I will call here digital, but it should be kind of networking, is when internet allows us to build also the media. For example, before internet, a content creator, writes a web page which you could read, and he was paid for it, maybe. Now we make that content. The Facebook pages we read, most of the contents of a good part, not most, but a good part of the contents we read, like Instagram, Facebook, all that, is made up by ourselves. We are the authors, and we pay with our information, as we say. We pay for that. We aren't paid. We pay for creating the contents we ourselves will read. So the thing is, we are part of that. We build the information. What this network gives, after only giving information and disseminating it in the world, is now this interactivity, this dynamic part of the process of the computers allows us to build the information. This is the era we are living now, and the era where we are moving to inside of the information age is one of the world building. As I show, everybody can learn to do that. Other thing is if we do it, but kids in school are learning and doing that. If you see the creators of the filters of Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, see you also are kids in school. So what does it mean? Well, Wikipedia is for me, actually, it's this information building is for me the best example of this information building as participation, as creation of ourselves. For example, if we go to this, look, we don't listen it, but what you're seeing right now is every right now. This is real time. The points are people who are right now writing in Wikipedia. This is a contribution. It's big. It's a bigger contribution. A little point is a little contribution. What you're seeing there is Wikipedia Live. It's being written now. By who? Who is the author of Wikipedia? Every one of us. Every one of us could contribute to that. So if we take an encyclopedia of previous encyclopedias, there was some specialist erudites. Do you say that? There's a sage, the specialist who writes the encyclopedia, but actually we also are the people who write it. So I will answer your question, Luis, at the end, okay? So back to this. Also, this power of writing gets we learned also some new tools, which is the power of building. What we just saw was a repair manifesto of the maker community. The maker community builds electronic stuff or repairs, so it's knowledge too, the knowledge of repairing, the knowledge of solutions, of the technical knowledge. So this is the next era. So I will get back. No, but what was that? Wait. Now we have the axis, this the knowledge of doing, first access to knowledge of the world, then the possibility to build ourselves the knowledge, and then the possibility of building the world in which this knowledge lives. Not only building stuff, but building the world where this knowledge lives. With what? With this kind of stuff. This is Spark, and this is Lens Studio of Snapchat, and so Spark of Facebook and Instagram. And okay, it looks kind of complicated now, but if you see the tutorials and that, you will see that, as I said, kids can learn it. And well, in the time of in the stories of Tertius, so the authors of this world are the scientists. In the world of XR, who are the authors? Again, as I said, not the developers they are, the programmers they are, but now it's more the human on the street, the man on the street, every one of us. And the context can be, okay, games, films. People can make contents for games and films, but what's more interesting for me is right now is it happens in a non-fiction communication, in a daily things. When I get into a game, I know I'm going to a fiction. I'm getting into an artificial world, and in a film too. But for example, in social media, it's for communicating. So the thing of this let's say, non-real objects which appear, they can be artificial. They can obviously artificial. They can be kind of more natural. But in both cases, I think I want to change you and show you now example of that. What I mean. Um, for example, for example, we can play with something really realistic. I'm gonna use face effects, not what's my okay, like this right now. I mean, this is a self camera, which I don't. It's not so interesting for me. It's more interesting for me the things which are exist outside of me, like objects in the world. But well, most of the filters for now are mainly on our faces. Um, but anyway, this is changing. This looks kind of realistic, okay? And if you don't know I'm using a filter, uh, you could doubt it's real. There are other effects like this, where it's quite clear that's not very realistic. But my point is not if it's real or not. That's another theme of that. The thing is that these things appear in the world we live. They appear also in a content where I'm not, which is not created for fiction, which is not where fiction is not the main point. Another thing is the main point. In this case, in social media, the communication is the main point. And this it can happen also in our context. The thing is that this way, this creation of the world gets in a kind of a subliminal way, not that obvious, and that's the way which is interesting, I think, which I'm kind of analyzing what the presence of artificial world does in our life. So then let's go back. What's culture? What do we share as culture? As I said, in the age of information, where we have access to information, we have this feeling that okay, we share knowledge in this world, and I'm part of it. I'm one who has the knowledge of my culture. No, internet gives me the access to to the knowledge of my time. So in the era of digital uh, um, of this internet where I can co-build, I'm co-author of this knowledge. And in XR, we know this part that we're creating realities. And the thing now is not only developers and high-tech people and people who studied that and engineers and that also all disciplines can learn. Most of the teams which are speaking on this conference are multidisciplinary. And not only the specialists can develop it, and as I said, also the people of the street can, any one of us can learn it really, really fast and can use it on its own equipment without being without spending much money. So I do co-create the sport. That means I have, in the first time, it's only access. My power is knowledge. Power is knowledge. I mean, knowledge is power, Foucault, no? Then, but it's a passive one. In the era of Wikipedia, my power is to contribute. I too can contribute to Facebook. I too can contribute to Wikipedia and so on. So I'm co-author, and that's an active. Remember, well, and in the XR world, I do co-create itself. I can also bring it into existence. I construct. So also that is quite active. So in the media time, we said I'm informed. I know I'm informed. Then in the Wikipedia time, it's like I'm to an authority, because authority was the thing you read. The truth is the things you read, or what the scientists say, what others say. But now I'm to authority. Me Too writes It's a knowledge of our time. It's a great power, it's a great feeling, and it's changing. Now we say, I am a creator. So the feeling of power is changing. That's what I say that XR for me is not only a technological phenomenon, it's a cultural phenomenon. So then, the problem is there that we have a certain skepticism. Like in the information access, it's like you read stuff and you say, is that true? And we felt that we were manipulated by media. We could be manipulated by the state, by a company, but our question was, do you really believe everything they tell you? Aren't you skeptic with the media? So our question, not to be fooled with that. Don't believe everything. Now, on digital media, in the internet age, our question is that coherent? It's not so much about that's true. We are kind of more skeptic about what's true, not true. We are more relative, and usually it depends on the age, but I think that's kind of a feeling. And the question is, check the sources, compare the sources, see if it's repeats or it's just some fake. And a hoax, no, we have to have a certain literacy and not only copying stuff whoever writes, but to ask if this image is real or whatever. I mean, if it comes or it's from another age, you know what I'm talking about. But the power now, when we're talking about construction and XR culture, the question is, that exists? If I put here a cube, okay, it's clear it does not exist. But if I put my context here another chair, it's not real. It's like in the films, you know, you see a movie and most of the people aren't there, they just make up, they're CGI, they're effects. So, okay, this effects now, we can do that ourselves. So I could put here a chair, which is not true. Actually, it's this one isn't true. So then the question is, does that exist? And how do we avoid to be fooled? Well, the first question would be in this literacy saying like, is that doable? Can you program that or not? Because if you still can't program that, then it probably isn't true. I can program that. It's very good to synchronize, isn't it? It's a very good choreography. I recorded that before. Okay, you know what I mean. So our questions change. Our certainty change. The concept of truth changes. So what is a medium for? Before medium, you know, it's for transporting info. It transports info about the world and gives us knowledge. That for is a medium, of course. Then in the internet age, a medium is for communication. I use internet for communicating with myself, not so much about to read about the world, that's also, but my main point here is it transports info about myself or people, so medium is for communication, not only transporting information. But well, now in this era, maybe the concept of medium will change. And it will be probably just, not only, it always continues, but maybe it's for building the world. And our main, or one of our concepts when we talk about medium is it's for constructing, because that is what we're creating now. Instagram filters are for building, not for communicating only. Okay, the construction thing participates in the communication, of course, and it transports info, yes. I mean, it doesn't, it's complementing itself. Okay, that's the point. Well, that's one of the points. I have here a funny problem, which my computer sometimes does, which I don't understand, but you know, computers aren't logical. So what we're seeing is, one is transport, but now we're changing to construction. Okay, the building. There it's again, the whole thing. It has changed what we consider culture, what we share, what are the common goods. Part of that or contribution to that has evolved, has changed, is changing, without leaving away, without ignoring what happened before, and a feeling of power is change, has also, we have a new feeling of power, which is going to grow. We have no skepticism, which we have to work out in another way. What another questions? What another? We have other questions, new questions, without the prior being answered. They coexist. So what could be coming? These are, I think, trend forecasting is not only saying what happens, but what could be happening, and in which direction could we are we going? So I think I think I didn't correct this. Sorry, the slide. So okay, we will continue a fusion about between the computer. Don't bother me. Between the okay, developer and user, and the prosumer. The consumer is a prosumer, and people will expect more possibilities to construct themselves. I think that will continue mainly, for example, in communication thing. Also, in getting to games. We are in games. Normally, you are building the world. That the limit there are that this walls. I mean, it's normal to build the entourage, so play context. No, it's not new, but there are limits, and maybe the people will ask to reduce the limits or to change the limit, to give more liberty. Like, okay, you have certain logic rules which the developer has made. Maybe the people will ask for making their own rules, their own nature rules, to open more, not only what they can change, but the logic of it itself. In this context, this idea of a current world of rules, make its own currents. But the currents demands a community. It's like a language. Actually, I think the point where what's was most happening, right, is when you see the language packs of certain games like Minecraft. In the language packs, the people create their own languages with their own logic. That exists actually, but I think, but it's a community work. So I think that will be also more in this context. And finally, also in audiovisual media like films or things like interactive documentaries and so on, the people will be more also the content creators. So there was continued fusion between content creators and consumer. And in activity like choosing what they see and choosing what happens, like Bandersnatch and that, but it will continue because it could be quite more complex. And maybe we'll have also a communal parallel error board. What I mean with that is I can make an effect, but I can geotag it. So that if another person goes there, he can also see it, what I build up. This happens already with Google boards. You can put objects in the board. But I think this is going to be more common, and we're gonna start to have like a mirror board, a parallel board, but not created by certain people, but by everybody. So maybe we'll coexist a hyper-connected reality as a hyper-connected augmented reality, no? Like Emilio Vega said, of parallel presences. Parallel to the world will live, no, so to the things we see, there will be things we will see through a medium, but on daily life. So this parallel worlds is something which I think could also be more present. And well, main thing is, an important thing here is, what does that mean for us? We said, so we're gonna need a new literacy. What happens? What do we have to know? Okay, all very nice changes, great. But what does that mean for us? Do we have to be aware of something? Certainly we have to. XR itself makes new, uh, has things we have to be aware of. XR with its immersion, incarnation, feeling, physical, this environment experience has new problems with privacy. To not give your name, but you're given so much biometric information. Also, Oculus scans your room, and all that is disclosed to Facebook. So privacy is quite a problem. Also, there's so much layers in XR that you cannot be aware of undisclosed vigilance by the state, by a company, by a hacker. And there will be also unwanted contents, which we have to aware of between these layers, like discrimination, polarization of the society, ideas, unwanted bias. There can be the present we have to be aware of. XR can also create addiction, alienation, behavior modification. If you can treat somebody with psychology for good, you can also make a modification for bad without wanting it. Unwanted, but mainly probably if you don't study the effects, you can have an unwanted one. And okay, escapism, techno dependence, and what I'm talking about is feeling of power, which is growing in our teenagers, can drive us to power hubris, like saying this hubris is like when you think that you can this too much optimism with that and going further than you should. So power, we can get also addicted to power or expect power or demand power in maybe places we shouldn't, and uncertainty. So one important point for me is this is happening massively. And it happens, we can do it, but also kids can do it. And the kids have with that responsibility of the contents they create, which they are maybe not prepared of. So we have to also include that in the education and the formation, the preparation of the youngers, but also of ourselves, the oldest too, because we are not prepared too. Technology usually evolves faster than our minds, our culture. So we have to be aware. We shall not be insensible, but to be it, we have to observe and understand, or try to understand. So that's about the info. First, I say thank you for your attention, and this is the info about me. So. We opened the games. The games opened. Let's go to the questions. And now I sit down. Okay. Thank you. Yes, computer and logical. Sometimes they start up with a very bad character. Yeah, we as you say, Martin. Hello. We should we should avoid insensibility. It's easy to happen. No? So, which are the three most important concepts people should learn or research more about regarding extended or mixed realities during the next 5 years? Wow, that's a good question. Luis, let us research about that. Let us join and think about it and develop maybe these questions. What do you think could be it? I will put you all, I have the power of making you all two panelists, so you can talk and share your screen, which is great, because when we don't see each other, it's like we know we're talking to the camera, but I will see if we can put as part, all participants. Well, okay, the attendees are gonna. How do I do that? Sure. Yeah, maybe it's this way. I'm promoting you all to panelists, says this program. Okay, so we can talk about it. And if you want to. So all you are invited to turn on your camera. It's also some quite interesting thing of dynamics. I saw that much people in XR love to have a changed background. Okay, so all you can talk now, so let's talk.
Hello, Andres. How are you?
Hello. Hello.
Well, great talk, man. I have to like review it and study a little bit the presentation, but thank you very much. I think I mean, my question is more like, what kind of concepts we should be more interested about? Like, if we wanted to just talk to a young person, to a student, to a client, or to a director of a big nonprofit organization that wants to explore or invest information money on this kind of research for mixed reality and extended reality. What could we just provide like information in terms of concept? Like, yeah, we should be interested in experience, user experience, or designing the interfaces, or what are the threats that we could find in in transporting ourselves from uh, mobile media, mobile devices to other kind of devices related to mixed realities and extended realities. Like, if you had to tell this kind of people, directors, people who have resources and or are interested in developing educational programs for children, for new people, new generations, like, yeah, you have to structure your ideas based on these three concepts. Which ones would it be?
I don't think I would choose three concepts.
All
First
right.
thing of all, I would say you have to be aware. It's a hype. No, XR is a hype. And it's okay. No, many people want to use it, but we have to know that nothing is neutral. All has positive and negative consequences, and we should be quite aware that we can't get into it naive, thinking that nothing will happen. So it depends. If you're working with games, we know about the effect of violence. If we talk about education, we should be aware of how we can educate in a way, in a direction we don't want to. But also, what we should be aware is that we are working in one discipline, but we have to consider the other disciplines. So one thing I would say for sure is be interdisciplinary. Not only work with a developer, not only work with an educator, work with a developer and educator, work also with a psychologist, work with different concepts. And there's a lot of work being made with that. Another main thing is actually right now is talking in a parallel talk. Pirma, she's an activist about security and safety of our information.
Right.
And this is a main point. We have this movement is now trying to. It happened with us with this information. We all use mails and internet, and suddenly, so we produce big data, and suddenly other use the big data for things we didn't want. So don't let that happen again. We can observe what we are creating, the information, the data we are creating, and we can try to monitor it and secure it instead of working later trying to repair what happened to us. So for sure, safety of data, privacy is something terribly important too. Yeah?
All right. Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question. And if you like, this is my contact. Let's continue talking about it.
Sure, sure. I will. I will send. I will give you I will send you an email, and we'll continue chatting about it.
Fine. Thank you. Also on LinkedIn. Thank you. That's great. Okay. Then other questions are welcome.
Hey,
And if you
hi.
want,
I,
hello,
I
Martin.
have a question. I know in some countries, it's like USA and Europe, Germany, and I don't know how in Asia, there are some research about the implications, cultural and social implications of this process of digitalization in all aspects of our life, but it's still there in these countries is still very, very unknown and very little, very specialized. And I would know how are you and your group and other people in Peru or in South America looking at this at this is the problem, I think, because I feel this starting to live in a virtual digital dimensions. It's a fact. It's and well, and these days with the COVID, it has gone through qualitative Quantensprung, no? And so it's a jump, no? a gigantic jump,
Yes.
but we don't know in what direction, and we still do not know also the implications. And I don't feel that even if we have had in South America this giant jump, no, towards digitalization, I don't feel that we have succeeded to combat to make a better, to make a more little the digital gap, no? That's what I wanted to comment and also to ask. How do you see the research and the capacity to make a difference from your network?
A very good question too. Thank you for that. This is a big point. XR, well, this conference itself, it's quite international. So last time somebody wrote me, which is your time zone? It's before it was, which is your city or where do you live? Now it's not even where it is, which is your country, it's or continent. Now it's which is your time zone. So we have to consider the differences between the countries. No, the most discourse are, as I say, when I say high end, who in third world countries have access to high end? But we have access to phones. No, the effects of the development are different. So we have to consider the difference between the countries and may adapt to the specific context research. So that's for sure. And the other point there too is, which I just forgot, just walked out of my mind, so I'm gonna hope it returns. It turned back, it came back. Another quite interesting thing of XR it's like really now, so community, let's say, and only I say the developers, the partners, but also companies and the researchers, we are not very well communicated. One develops something here, another one develops something there, and there are actually some initiative to coordinate the research and the development. Like there are communities which XR4all, the community which tries to make contact and relate the XR agents in Europe. There are starting projects on doing that in Latin America. So the society, for example, in Chile, there's a society of immersive technologies. I think Brazil too, Tatiana. I didn't. I tried to contact them, but in Peru, for example, there's no society, no association. I mean, which communicates actors, developers, and researchers about XR in Peru still, and no one, no, also building up, but there's no. I think, as far as I know, I can't say that the thing I don't know don't exist, but as far as I know, there's no association, society, platform which can coordinate like the agents, people who make it, made this and do this in Latin America. So one developer develops one thing, the other one's the same thing, it's a neighbor country, and everyone builds, invents against, creates against. It's the same thing, like we are creating, what to say, the wheel. We are reinventing the wheel, but the same thing with research. We should try to make a common agenda of research. Communicate to researchers and so everybody. I think that's quite important to interchange of information. So I hope I know there are some initiatives. I hope they will grow. And finally, the research and the digital gap, as you said, not a big digital gap. As the good thing, internet has dissolved the knowledge gap to quite good extent, but the digital gap of technology is still there. So talking about equipment, we won't be able to pay in certain contexts. So one very important thing, that's also to your question, Luis. One, we should consider inclusion. Inclusion of the hearing impaired, of the blind, inclusion of the minority, inclusion of people who don't have access to certain technology or context or tools. So that's also very important in Excel to consider, not only be aware of the of privacy, but also be aware of not excluding people, because in third world we are sometimes could be excluded, but not of information or not of building also of stuff. No? So I'm very fond of low tech, as I say, and how we can bring this stuff to our students, and how can we have free software, open source, and so on. So, well, in the group which I'm part of, the Giant, well, and so also another group in Peru, so Avatar, in the University of the Católica. I think what we need the most is to contact ourselves to learn what they all are doing. I don't know. That was a very long and answer, which I don't actually. I'm sure, very sure that it answers the question. Did it?
Hi, Andres. Okay, first, congratulations for your presentation. It was very interesting. I was wondering about the ethical part of it. because it gives me the impression that XR is like playing like being God, and you have no limits to create. So, what do you think about the ethical part of it, of XR?
Well, as I said, the ethical part, I think the ethical part is of being aware of not forgetting what we're doing, of not forgetting what we're giving. Because one question is, okay, to create, is it good to be God or not? I think it's quite, I think the people should also be aware of what they're creating. Instead, the kids have responsibility, which they maybe have to learn to dwell with and to manage it. Like you can create a very disturbing thing and put it in a park, and another person's walking through and look like that, and suddenly she sees this very disturbing thing. So it's a thing of responsibility of thinking what we're doing, of knowing that we're responsible is an important thing. And about ethics, what I think also is very, very important here is not only what can we do, the power we have of being God and playing God. I think a big issue here is also what does it mean to make gods? Which responsibility has the one who develops the tools for being it? Now, what should he or she give on the way? That's also something I think people should consider.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Robin. Another question. Okay, there's another question.
One more thing, Andres. I'm sorry.
Yes, yes, please.
Yes. Well, this is obviously an international event, and everybody is trying, to cover as many talks as we can because there are different channels and everything. So that's great and it's awesome. Uh, I believe there will be the opportunity to check the materials later on the day and later on the week, so we can get a peek of the information that is being shared in different channels. But I would just like to ask you what kind of, or what would be your point of view regarding these events and the possibilities that that they present for people who are, yes, like you said, in the hype of this XR and different other expressions and devices and media. But what should be the path we should construct or build in order to consolidate the information or the education or the importance of this media for society and for specifically, well, I live in Latin America, so specifically talking about this kind of context, the social, political, economical context that we live in these countries. What kind of events, in what formats, in what kind of topics and structures should we be developing in order to get the most out of this hype or out of this continuous interest from very important, very interesting, and very intelligent people who shared. I'm sorry, there's an ambulance. Very important people who shared their knowledge and their research results and all of this time that they all spend exploring and investigating about these topics.
To be true, I didn't understand very well your question.
Well, the question is, where can we continue I mean, for example, should be
Now,
or should be organizing new conferences, new summits, new more this kind of events in different places of the world, or should we be focusing on this kind of events which the most important members of the community are being presented?
no, certainly not. The first one, I think we should make first of all, um, just for the life of open source. Like we create knowledge by sharing. It's terrible that books now are kind of good for a lead with the prizes. We should knowledge grows when sharing. So the first thing we should do is share. Actually, there will be as a result of this conference, and also a little bit as part of the answer to the previous question, is this there will be an open journal resulting of this conference, and we should do the thing in Latin America. We should join forces, make conferences which try to consolidate the Latin American communities, African communities, the Asian community. Actually, which country are you in with?
Mexico.
Fine. In Mexico, there's this immersive actually, well, I could change now to Spanish, which I think most of people speak now. But the point is, this video is being recorded, and all you have access to see the videos later. So I will right now continue in English, and this kind of stuff I call English. And
Okay.
Well, this is laboratorio digital immersive. The Laboratory of Immersive Media of Mexico City is going to make very soon, I think in November, colloquium or congress trying to compare immersion in Latin America. No? So we should do. Sorry.
I said that's great.
Yeah, have a look at them. It's I think it's called immersive 3. The thing is, we know too little what other people do, so we should make networks of knowing what do the other. It's also like I don't know if you heard of Lab Interact in Mexico City, which was tried 2 years. It lived kind of 2 years only, but it was like in new media, the things develop so fast and nobody can know it all. Then you're just going to specialize in one thing and another person another thing, but you have to know what is happening, what is being developed, but you're not specialized in that. So in a group, we can share. We can say, okay, I'm specialized in that and that, and this is what's happening here and what's happening there. And then me as an artist or creator new media, I know, okay, it's possible, and that will be the way. And I can call somebody who knows to do that, but and at least I know how it's doable. So it's really important to share. Also, I think to share with platforms, network, web pages, to share with associations, to share also associations help to drive better funds, public funds, private funds, not to handle administrate that better. And also we should try to make publications. I mean journals. No, the thing is information. Make the information free accessible, so we can continue on evolutionating as species.